1-2, swinging a drive toward right center. Back goes Robert, back near the stands. That ball is gone. A game-winning home run for Chris Morel. Can you believe it? Listen to this crowd.
Welcome back to the Brotherly Cubs podcast. I am your little brother, Zach, and that's my big brother, John. We are your brothers who love everything Cubs baseball. If you enjoy Cubs baseball, hit the subscribe button. Please turn on the notifications and join us every week as we dive into the most bold team in the National League Central.
We like to start off each podcast with a playful question for all of our 125 subscribers. Before we get to that question, we just want to thank you guys for always checking us out and supporting us as we continue our quest to 150. Zach, today our question is, who is the coolest person named Kyle or Tucker in honor of the recent acquisition that you can think of?
It's just a random question, though.
Yeah.
Who is the coolest person named Kyle or Tucker that you can think of?
I don't know what I want to order first. You go ahead and order.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. It's just a common thing that people do at restaurants, and they say they know what they want.
You go.
I think I know.
I'll be ready when he comes around the table for me.
I'm still not ready. Let's order appetizers. For some reason I went to Kyle Broflovsky from South Park.
Oh, okay. No, I like that.
Or Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker's
that's fair.
A good one because I just seen. I mean, it had been a while since I had seen Rush Hour 2, but there's a really funny scene where Jeremy Piven walks up to them and he's trying to, I think, outfit them and put Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker into like a new wardrobe or something, and it's just it's a classic scene if you know what I'm talking about. So
I need to rewatch Rush Hour 2. It's been
the whole trilogy, yeah.
The trilogy.
Is Rush Hour 2 a Christmas movie?
To rule them all. One Rush Hour to find them.
I don't know if it's a Christmas movie. Let's debate it.
There's a lot of Christmas movies out there we haven't even watched this year. We've been behind for sure. Hard to keep up. It's already the 15th time recording. I like Kyle Mooney.
Oh yeah, he's good.
From YouTube and SNL, and I also like Kyle Shanahan.
I
have a friend named Tucker. I don't think I actually know that many other people named Tucker that I could think of.
Tucker Carlson.
But he's not cool. Just kind of a fun little exercise if you want to get into the news here, John. Queuing you over to read off like the bulletins of the Cubs offseason.
Yeah, so they signed catcher Carson Kelly to a 2-year, $11 million deal. Really good value, I think, on the Cubs' part. Good defensive catcher from what I'm reading. I think he had hit in the 238 or something like that average. So I mean he's a solid upgrade, I think, from what we had last year. I'm really happy about that deal. They also traded Isak Paredes, Cam Smith, Hayden Wisniewski to the Astros for Kyle Tucker, superstar Kyle Tucker.
Yeah,
in case you hadn't heard.
Just a very nonchalant kind of little behind-the-scenes move they did.
Throwing that in there, yeah.
I've been
moving on. No, I'm just playing.
And that's it. And not a whole lot happened. No.
Thank you for tuning in.
For those who don't know, Kyle Tucker is. So I have a lot of friends who are like anti-baseball but like sports. So I will tell them, I'm like so excited. So I'm like, hey. Kyle Tucker is the 8th best hitter in all of baseball.
Wow.
And they're like, whoa, I don't, but still, I'm like,
how many players are there?
Well, I mean, there's 30 on each team. It's about 1,000.
That's got to be what, a couple hundred or?
I'll tell you what, most everyone could name, even non-baseball fans could name the best, Soto, Otani.
Right.
They've heard those names.
Right.
Maybe even some casual sports fans know Betts, Freeman, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Dodgers, Yankees, Aaron Judge. Kyle Tucker is like right behind those guys.
Yeah.
And that is my reaction to that. Is if
Yeah.
if you're the Cubs and you're making a move, a lot of people have said this is the biggest star since Chris Bryant, basically in
Yeah.
or
biggest trade.
biggest player to play in Chicago since Chris
Yeah.
Bryant, the Brizzo days.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, maybe even better, right?
Well,
At the time, he was rookie of the year, I guess.
KB won, rookie of the year,
2015
MVP, won a freaking World Series in like 2 years.
He's definitely an upgrade from from what we had in right field. But Bellinger
defensively, sure,
yeah, better than Suzuki, who allegedly still wants to play right field, but that's another conversation for another day. But he's quick. He steals bases, which I didn't really know a whole lot about him. I knew he's absolutely raked, but he steals bases. He's good defensively, and so I think he's projected for like mid fives, 5.5, 5.6 WAR or something like that.
If he can steal, so the winter meetings, for those who don't know, who are watching this podcast, I'm sure a lot of people know, but it just happened. Hence, when the Cubs made the rumor mill came around that the Cubs were going to make a deal with Carson Kelly, just went official recently. It takes a while for some of these things to happen.
Yeah.
The news of the winter meeting was really Soto got signed by the New York Mets. Again, bummer for the Yankees, kind of in a very interesting parallel.
Yeah.
The Padres trade for Soto and then trade him away to the Yankees, and the Yankees trading for him and losing him in free agency after 1 year. He signs with the Mets, and the Cubs go out and acquire their own superstar, only with 1 year left on his deal.
Right.
Because this is my cat's tail that is making.
I was wondering what that was that you were.
It's a feather.
Putting your hand on.
I'm writing notes with my pen. She just needs love.
Just the tip of the tail there.
I lost track. No, this is why we make the money we do.
Listen, let's get serious now. Let me go back to the show notes.
No, but it's the winter meetings. Really, it was Soto signing with the Mets. Like really, I think it was either right before or that first day.
Yeah.
It was down to the Yankees and Mets. The Red Sox were out of it. The Cubs entered the Cubs going for Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
A day or so into the winter, almost right at the start of the winter meetings, and it took till the end of the winter meetings until after. I think it was Friday, right? So
yeah, it was Friday.
So the winter meetings in that Thursday, so they were close, and there were some thoughts that they were going to give up a lot for Kyle Tucker.
Right.
But the other end of it is the Cubs actually had more leverage because no one else was really in the sweepstakes.
Right.
Phillies have not been serious with their trade.
Maybe Yankees, but I don't know how
Yankees were
close.
Serious, but they don't have a ton of prospect capital right now, and the Astros do not want to do business. It'd be like the Cubs being like, "Hey, Brewers, let's do business." Speaking of which, the Yankees and Brewers made a trade for Devin Williams.
Yeah.
So the Brewers now suck because they don't have probably no Burns, no Adames, and now no Williams.
Yeah, but they took back Nestor Cortez, which is nice.
That's good
piece. But yeah.
Yeah. So, wow, what a way for the winter meetings to end, right?
Yeah.
And there was the Garrett Crochet deal with the Sox that the Cubs seemed like they were in on him, but that was just rumors.
Yeah.
And now, how about Cody Bellinger? Did we hear anything about Cody Bellinger?
Yeah. Not that I know of. I haven't checked Twitter in a little while, but I'm sure nothing is really broken. Just same, it's what's out there right now is that the Yankees and Cubs are apart on money. It's
right
that they're nearing a deal or kind of near a deal, but it's just maybe they have the prospect figured out. As far as I know, there were Will Warren was one of the pitching prospects from the Yankees that the Cubs were interested in, and I don't know much about him, but
so those conversations also happened in the winter meetings.
right.
And I think so did some about Hoerner, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But the premise of this podcast is really to catch up the listeners on our thoughts on some of these big things, the winter meetings.
Yeah.
There actually is a ton to talk about. We don't have hours to talk about it, but I'm sure in the next one we'll probably dig deeper because the rumor mill is flying. And there's still some opportunities for the Cubs to go out and get some other hitters or to maneuver their lineup. And when you start to do the math, the Cubs traded Paredes, who they got in for Chris Morel, no third baseman now. Cam Smith was not going to play third base next year, more of a future type bet on the org to eventually play in the infield or get moved around. But now the Cubs have literally a hole at third base. So the question is, what I was thinking is, can they move Hoerner to third if they don't trade him? Or, if you keep Bellinger, you could put Bellinger at first and Busch at second. I think they'll trade Bellinger, though. I think maybe as we go about this podcast, based on the rumors, we should expect that Bellinger will be moved because of the money.
Right. Yeah. I was just gonna say there's talks out there from a lot of people on X or Twitter that the Cubs might actually keep Belly, and that just might be posturing or just kind of telling the Yankees to go take a hike. I mean, if the Yankees are asking the Cubs to eat, I don't know what it was. I think it was 9 or 10 million, which is, a little far fetched. Or kind
I
of.
mean, that's doable, though, right?
I would think so. I guess it depends on if the Cubs get what they want back primarily. Also,
yeah.
So if you keep Belly, you're not freeing up money to sign someone like a Pete Alonso if they are serious. Like, what was it, John Heyman, I think, mentioned that the Cubs are interested in Pete Alonso, and Cody Delmendo was mentioning a few days ago how he's sick of being the interest kings, which is hilarious because, it seems like every winter it's like, oh, Cubs are interested in, so-and-so, but
right. And that's a lot of,
them.
sure. And heck, the Dodgers are even interested. They do go and finish those deals, but
Yeah.
you do hear about some of the Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, Padres being interested in every player, and that includes Roki Sasaki, who's going to gain interest in basically every team. Right, he's going to cost $6 million. He's going to be potentially a future, star player.
Have you heard about that? About Roki Sasaki being courted by the Chicago White Sox?
Yeah, that's frustrating to me. I will say that's extremely frustrating that
he's being misled, I think.
I think,
there's no way he's going to sign with the team that just lost 122 games.
Right, made history being bad,
versus going to somewhere like San Diego with
that's
Yu
going in
Darvish or
the opposite direction of the Dodgers. I'm just surprised that would be,
unless he really doesn't have a penchant for, well, A, competing, and then B, big market, which I've heard that's a rumor. He wants a smaller market, but who knows what his actual preference is. I guess geography is not, location is not a big deal to him.
yeah.
So we'll see. We've heard different things from his agent that he likes, he wants a soft landing.
Right. Smaller market. Yeah.
He likes soft landings,
The Cubs have a good pitching development, though. I think they've started to really develop pitching. And I think that's what he needs. I'm sure he's going to look to other organizations that are better. In my opinion, he should go to a team like the Guardians, or let's just say the Brewers, or I wouldn't want him to go to the Brewers, but
right.
You think like the Rays, the best teams that are competitive,
right.
Small markets that are really good developing pitching. There's a handful of those that we just, they just mentioned. To me, that would make sense for him to go to those teams if that's what he wants. I just can't see the White Sox in that department because they don't have any other pitchers and they don't have any hitter. They don't have anything right now. It's going to take them years to develop.
Right. There was something
to lose.
Yeah, there was some kind of relation with his former coach or something, with the White Sox. I don't know what the connection is there with his former coach, but anyways, we'll see. I mean, that's not going to be for another month or so,
Right.
for Roki Sasaki. So, but as far as the Cubs, they're free agents. What they're targeting, we mentioned Pete Alonso. So third base is obviously up for grabs. There's people talking about possibly, signing a stopgap or someone to compete with Matt Shaw, not just giving him the reins, which is that's a big deal, right? I mean, they did basically give it to Christopher Morel, who, that's about as shaky as you can get.
Yeah.
And then, so, I mean, Matt Shaw has had plenty of reps at third now. Short obviously, but third a lot. So he could be, I don't want to say the incumbent, but he could at least compete. And then, of course, first base, you don't know really. It's kind of a question mark. Is Belly going to stay if he leaves? Obviously, if they trade him, I would think they would sign someone like a Pete Alonso. A lot of people are
Maybe.
saying maybe, but I think people are saying, okay, they traded for Kyle Tucker. They're going all in. But you
Yeah.
can't just give away Bellinger and trade for Kyle Tucker. And it's like trading pieces, basically.
Yeah, you can't. Agreed. I know you can't get rid of Bellinger and Paredes
Right.
and just get Tucker because you're going to lose offense.
Right.
But so, like, let's just say you've got Shaw at third.
Right.
If you trade Hoerner, I don't know if they will trade Paredes, Bellinger, and Hoerner all in the same offseason. I know Bellinger makes sense to move the money
Right.
and allow them to go and get a pitcher. I think the Hoerner deal will happen if they can get a Cease or a Brian Wu, or get cheap, controllable guys with multiple years that they
Yeah.
can then extend later. I think they want to do that. If they can't get that deal and it's just someone like Jesus Luzardo, who we had talked about, then I think at that point, then they may be like, you know what, we could keep Hoerner. And if they keep him, he could play third or he could play second. And
Yeah.
Busch could play first, and then Shaw could play third. And then, like you talked about with third base, if you keep Hoerner, and Shaw's competing, then someone like Jorge Polanco or Yoan Moncada,
Yeah.
one of those guys. I think Polanco's played more second, but he can also play short. So if you get rid of Hoerner, you're going to want a guy who can kind of back you up at shortstop as well. And that's why I think I'm actually leaning towards, hey, maybe you can keep Hoerner. If you can upgrade, like you said, if you can get Pete Alonso and trade Bellinger, somehow move Busch, depending on where you can move Busch, and you can improve your offense, then you can keep Hoerner. It's not expecting him to hit like for a ton of power RBIs. Keep him in the lineup for speed.
Hoerner.
Yeah, Hoerner.
Yeah.
And then with Shaw, maybe you expect him to play third and eventually be the third baseman. But if you can get a placeholder like Jorge Polanco, who also Polanco to me would be key if you trade Hoerner because he can play shortstop. And the Cubs don't have any other major league ready talent except maybe Matt Shaw, who could play short. Moncada has hit a little bit in the past, has not hit recently, but he could play third.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's some placeholder options. I like Polanco the best because he's hit very consistently for a lot of years,
Right.
and he can play all over the diamond.
Yeah.
So I think those are some of the options they need to think about when they're looking
Yeah.
at these trades.
Do you feel like they need to trade? I have penciled in here. So first base, Belly/Alonso. Second base, Busch. Third base, Shaw. Swanson, obviously short. Left, Hap. Center, PCA. Right field, Tucker. DH, Suzuki. Obviously catcher, Kelly and Amaya. So DH, going back to DH, what do you think about that, Zach? Just real quick on, do they keep Suzuki, or do you think they have to trade him just based on like
No,
recent comments? Or
I don't think so. Also for the audience, there's a lot that happened in the winter meetings. Apparently,
right.
Sasaki's agent is shared with him and Seiya Suzuki, Joel Wolfe. Joel Wolfe came out and said that Seiya was not happy about being relegated to the DH role. But my issue with that is I don't think he's necessarily relegated. Now with Tucker, maybe he is, because Tucker's a better defender. I think that Suzuki should try and play left to spell Ian Happ. Since left field is a little bit less crucial, you're throwing if you think about it, right field has a long way to throw the ball into second or into third. You
Yeah.
throw into first to third or a triple, you have to throw a long way. From left field, you're just either throwing to third or home. You don't obviously have to ever throw to first base. So you have less of a throw from left field in general because of the runner at first, you know.
Mm.
So I think that obviously Hap is a gold glover. If you were to sit Hap against a lefty, I think you should give Seiya the opportunity to sometimes play left field, and that could
Mm.
make him more valuable. He's not going to play center. PCA is there. So obviously you've got only a limited, and Tucker's mostly going to play right field, even against lefties. You can move these guys around. He's mostly going to DH though, and play a spot in right field. But maybe you can move him into those spots. If he's really unhappy and you hear about it at the trade deadline, maybe they move him.
Yeah.
But with Kyle Tucker, if the Cubs were to get someone like, let's say, Pete Alonso, and they keep Seiya, and they have Hap and Busch, that's a really good lineup.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose Seiya, I think that your lineup drops off quite a bit because he's a good stabilizing force in the middle of the lineup. So I hope they can make him happy. I hope he's not really that upset,
Right.
because if he is, that is a big problem for the Cubs.
Right. So just kind of, you mentioned outfielders in left field or Suzuki. What about, you mentioned Jesus Luzardo as a possible trade candidate, and Owen Casey's name being mentioned in there. Which is wild because I feel like they just made a pretty, I don't want to say an amazing trade, but they didn't really fleece the Astros, but I feel like they made a good trade for Tucker. Do you feel like they would ever really include Casey in a deal for Luzardo, or would they just keep him, as a possible replacement for Hap, even though I think he's played right field, right? Owen Casey.
Yeah, I think at this point, when it comes to Owen Casey and getting in a trade, I think aggregating him with Hoerner, Hoerner being just super valuable, so he could get you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Aggregating, let's say, Hoerner, Casey, and Triantos or Alcantara with another pitching prospect could get you, hopefully could get you close in the ballpark of Dylan Cease or Gilbert, Wu, etc. That's the idea, is parting with, not maybe for Luzardo. Luzardo at times, a couple of years, has had good ERAs, as a good K per nine, good fastball. He's been hurt a lot, and I don't think the Cubs should go down that lane for him. I think they should give up Casey. The thing about Casey is, if Kyle Tucker leaves, if the Cubs felt they could extend Tucker, then you should totally trade Casey, cash on his value. If you're not sure about Kyle Tucker's ability to be re-signed next offseason, I think Casey is I don't want to say a must-have, but you only trade him in a deal to land like another superstar type. I shouldn't say superstar, but an all-star type talent. We're talking
Right.
pitching. If it can help you get over the deal, you still got Kevin Alcantara,
Right.
or you could just trade Alcantara at that point. If you're going to bet on Casey for right field in case Tucker leaves, then Casey slots in at right field.
Right. That's what I would do, honestly, is I would hold on to Casey as a backup, because you just never know. Just given the Cubs' recent history with contracts and, what
they don't
Tucker
have
might actually, I would honestly keep Casey at least as an insurance policy, but that's just me. So, like you said, if they can trade for a superstar and possibly extend him, then, you can package maybe a Hoerner and a Casey or something like that. But
I mean,
we'll see.
There's definitely a lot of momentum right now with this team. I hope that they don't lose the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that they can. Right now, to me, there's only a handful of moves. We talked about third already. That's the big hole.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about pitching a little bit. There's guys like Luis Castillo, who makes a lot of money, but he's still got really good stuff. Been very dependable, very consistent. Could even slot in as a number 3. Pitching is very expensive right now.
Yeah.
There's obviously, we talked about like guys like Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, Dylan Cease. There's not maybe a whole lot else out there. Crochet already went to the Red Sox.
Right.
So the question being, could you go for a guy like Jack Flaherty or Walker Buehler if you trade Bellinger and free up that money. I don't
Right.
know if they want to make those deals if there's a good deal available and they free up the money, or if they feel like they have to trade for a very cheap pitcher, like a pre-arb or an arbitration level pitcher who's not making a ton. So that's feels like that's the next shoe to drop. The Bellinger trade to the Yankees, and then who will they trade for a pitcher, or will they acquire a pitcher? So obviously we talked about Sasaki. He's the best on the market, but due to international free agency, he cannot be signed until January 15th,
Right.
or at least he would not be incentivized to.
Yeah.
So at this point, uh, that's you've got Buehler, Flaherty, Sasaki, and then you've got a handful of pitchers via trade. So that's about what the Cubs are looking at is third base, and then those other spots. You'd love to upgrade offense still if you can, but I think the order of operations would probably be trade Bellinger, add starting pitching, maybe see if you can add offense, and then
Right.
our closing maybe discussion here is going to be bullpen. Do you feel they need a lefty first? Do you think they need a closer first? What do you think is the next move for the bullpen?
Well, they locked down Hobie Milner, so you got to be proud about that.
They did?
Hobie, didn't they already come to a contract thing with
Oh
a
man, did I
contract?
miss that? Did I miss that today? I'm
No, I thought they already, or maybe they were in talks with him. I thought they already. Uh, let's see, what does it say? Showing real interest. I thought for some reason I was reading that maybe they were close or something.
Oh, that
Let's
was a
see.
few days ago. So
What were they? They were just showing, I
just
think,
showing
interest.
interest, yeah.
Yeah, real interest.
Which doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, it's good.
Yeah, he's not. I don't
Okay,
know that he's
well,
gonna move the needle really, but I mean,
yeah,
I would like
that's
Finnegan. I think they need a bona fide, legit closer. Finnegan, I think would, he would answer that, and then you could move Hodge down to an eighth inning role
yeah, I'd like
and
that.
shorten the game up. I mean, and have the starter, go. The starter would need to go maybe more than six, really. Um, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the Cubs do for as far as shoring up the bullpen, because I feel like they need, maybe what, two more arms.
I think so. I mean,
I
and
would say
yeah,
Finnegan, and maybe if they could get Andrew Chafin, bro. I mean, he's a legend in Chicago just for the
he's
stash and the
he's not
mullet. I
even really
mean,
that good. I
he
would be
he would
happy
be a
with him.
huge fan favorite, huge.
Yeah.
As far as effectiveness, I mean, Kirby Yates, obviously, yeah, it'd be legit. That'd be nice.
I agree. I mean, I think they need
So
to get a lefty because Little is a good pitcher, just not healthy yet.
yeah,
I'm assuming he'll be coming into the season healthy after his shoulder issues, shoulder surgery. Hopefully, but maybe he's not back until like May, and then you can't go the whole month of April without a lefty. You've seen how difficult it is for them to navigate these lineups with lefty killers like Mark Leiter, who's now no longer on the team.
right.
Hector Neris didn't quite do that job like he was supposed to. So, yeah, either you get a guy like Finnegan who has a splitter who can get lefties out, who's a closer,
Hmm.
or you get maybe him and a lefty. I'm fine with Chafin. Milner, I think I would like it in that Council has worked with him before, so that helps.
Right, right.
So I think there's a couple different ways they can go. I wish there was a better lefty out there. I think AJ Minter is still available.
Yeah, he is. I
So
believe
maybe
so.
just go and get freaking AJ Minter first because he has closing experience, late inning
Yeah,
experience. He's got good numbers recently, and he's a power lefty.
yeah,
If they can get him plus another arm, I'd be extremely happy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's got to be the prize, right? I think for as far
Yeah,
as relief pitching goes on that market, but
yeah,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they add, and I mean, there's obviously a ton of time left to do that, and hopefully they don't
true.
wait again
Long off
till
season. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, winter meetings is the big chunk of time when it happens, but then yeah, there's still allotment of time here even before CubsCon, another month, and then spring training is 2 months away. So hopefully they make all those deals between now and CubsCon and get them go all in. You know, you got Tucker for 1 year, go in and try and make the playoffs.
Go all in and get Finnegan. Isn't it Kyle? It's Kyle. It's Kyle Finnegan. Another Kyle.
Hey, that's the Kyle of the day.
That's the answer to the question. Kyle Finnegan.
I like Kyle Shanahan on the Niners. He's
very disagree.
Very good coach.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for joining us here on the Brotherly Cubs podcast. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the conversation with us on Twitter at Brotherly Cubs or Spotify and Apple Podcast. I'm your big brother, John, and that's my little brother, Zach. And we will see you next week. Until next time, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you later. Peace.
See ya.
Listen to this crowd.